Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Can you please respond back in the chat box for me with the smiley emoticon, and welcome to the digital marketing class. Smile emoticon, anything there, so that I can be able to start the class knowing that you can hear me very well. I'm also sharing the screen, so you can confirm that as well, that you are able to see my screen. All right, great. Thank you for that. So we're gonna start our today's class, and our today's class is gonna be based on chapter 5, which is learning unit 4. So we go to Brightspace or my tutor 2DL, and we go to our subject, which is digital marketing. There's a couple of things that we'll need to take into account that have been updated on this page. So we're gonna go under, or just when you are landing in the page, under announcement, you will see there that your assessment 3, it's already ready, but the date is still far, so it's next month. And in this assessment, we're gonna talk a bit about that, what will be required from you, as well as to talk about how chapter 5 comes into the assessment. Chapter assessment 3 also needs you to understand chapter 6 as well. So by the time you're done with chapter 5 and chapter 6, you should be able to complete assessment 3 as well as assessment 4. So let's start with assessment 3 here. So under announcement, you will see the deadline is the 6th of August. It is out of 80 marks. And then the assessment content, you will be identifying a digital organization and providing a 2-page case study. We talk about the flipped assignment in this case, whereby in previously you used to get a case study already developed for you, but this is going to be a different scenario. You will develop the case study, and then once you have developed that case study, you will have to develop a digital marketing plan. So it will be in your interest, this one, but there are some guidelines that you'll need to follow regarding that. So let's quickly download the assessment guidelines here. And if you open the assessment guidelines, you will see on the next page, you've got the marking rubric there. It's very important to always follow the marking rubric because it will guide you on where the marks will be allocated. It will also guide you on the things that you need to include in terms of your assignment. So if you go to section A, you will see under section A, it says, identify a digital organization in a South African market. So we need to talk about that a bit. So a digital organization in a South African market, so you cannot just do a digital marketing plan on any company. Some companies, they still rely on traditional means, which makes it impossible for us to recognize or classify them as a digital organization. So a digital organization will be an actual company which relies heavily on on online platforms. These are the e-commerce websites, or these are the apps, and it does not heavily rely on the traditional means. So you must provide a 2-page case study. This is the at least the minimum. So if you have to provide a 3-page or a 4-page case study or 5-page case study, remember this is going to be a lot of work. So 2-page case study is usually the sufficient amount of information that you will need. So it's important that in that 2-page case study, if you feel like there's more that you need to provide, you try and summarize. Once it's become 2 pages too much for us to read, even in the assessment, you'll see the case study I provide you with. The maximum is always more, 2 pages. Refer to previous assessment case studies such as Timer Bank. We've seen that as activity 1, Gumtree, activity 2. Take a lot. We're gonna look. We've looked into that. OLX, Netflix. We've looked at that in terms of the assessment. So those were the previous case studies that were developed. So you can refer to those assessments in how to develop an example of a case study. But the difference between this case study that you've seen in the assessment and the one that you're gonna develop is gonna be the citations. So the case that you're gonna develop will have to at least have 10 citations, properly referenced according to TUT reference style method. So by this stage, I'm assuming that you know how to use the TUT reference style method. It's something that actually only first year students can say they are struggling or they have no idea what is TUT reference style method. So I know a methodology subject, and it's something that should also be included, as well as a general thing as a student. For example, if we quickly run an internet search, and on internet search, maybe you say TUT citation guide. So if you search for TUT citation guide, you will see under library, they do have the TUT citation and the reference guide. So it's something that you can download. You can see this page takes you directly to the PDF. So if it's this book, you don't have it by now, so it's something that you can download right now as well and have it somewhere in your computer, because we will be referencing according to this style method. So here they give you some examples in the guide itself, how to reference. Most of the information you will see that they tell you how to reference it based on where it comes from, so your source. But most of the time in your assessment, you'll be only using one source. You'll see here they reference things such as textbooks, more than one author, and so on. So you don't need to read the whole thing if you have no idea what is the reference style that I'm talking about. You're only interested in basically referencing the website. How do we reference a website? Because most of the information that you will be collecting and using to develop the case study will come from the website. So using such examples, you will see this is one about the textbook. For example, according to Coleman and Brixman, or Briggs, it was published in 2003 on page 77. That is an example. The purpose of is to explore the leadership and so on. And then in the list of references, they include every detail of that source there. So the referencing the website pages is similar. For example, if you found information about, let's just say maybe you are interested in developing a case study about Gumtree. So on Google, there are some tips or advices I will share with you in terms of developing the case study regarding that here. So I'm going to quickly open another page and work on it for practicality. So let's call this developing a case study. Okay, so some of the tips I've already shared. The first one, you're going to need the citation book. So that's the one that I've downloaded it here. So it's called the TUT Citation and Bibliographic Reference Guide. So let's just say first thing, download that. Because you're gonna need it for referencing. And then what I wanted to share is the second tip for developing a case study is that let's look at in the assignment itself, the guidelines. It says the case should have 10 at least citations, probably reference. So once you have 10, that is more than enough. They should be different. You cannot actually have one citation. In some instances, you'll find that you find most of the information that you need for the case study under one source. For example, this information could be on the website that you need to develop a case study. You still need to consult other websites regarding that specific company. So let's use a practical example. Let's say maybe we are interested in Timer Bank as our case study. So obviously we'll have to describe what is Timer Bank, their market and everything. And most of this information we'll find it here, but we'll paraphrase. Obviously we can't do copy and paste. The assignment itself, it's gonna run a plagiarism tool as well. It's important to note that more than 30% of plagiarism, which is just copy and paste, if it's more than 30%, that's a bit too high. So at least the website or when you submit, my tutor platform will tell you the percentage of plagiarism of copying and paste. The idea is that you don't copy and paste. When you find information that you need, you paraphrase as much as possible. So that's the second tip, paraphrase, which basically means rewrite sentences or statements in your own words as a student. Because as long as it's having the same meaning, that is 100%. So that is paraphrased. So once you paraphrase, you include you cite the information that it came from. So it will come from most of it from one source. So you will reference the website most of the time, but you need to reference the website only once. So take the information that you think it's more valid to be cited or referenced with the website, and cite it once, and then the other information you will have to search it. Even if all information that you need is already here, we need other sources for validity purpose. You'll remember in research we talk a lot about validity and reliability, and validity, what it actually means, it simply says you agree with the other authors. So if you're only using one source, there is no agreement that we see in terms of validity or in terms of research. So we want you to actually compare your results or your findings with the other authors, or the other sources, what they are saying. So looking at the guidelines, section B, conducting situation analysis for 50 marks. Complete step 1 of the source stack planning framework. Okay, there's something else that you need to download on Brightspace if we haven't so far. So let's quickly go back to Brightspace for that. So here on Brightspace, on our page, if you come under content, And in the introduction and welcome, you're gonna need to download the digital marketing example or digital marketing plan example. So this is an example of what a digital marketing plan looks like, and it's having a case study as well there. So it also gives you the structure or the template that is followed when you develop a digital marketing plan. So if we quickly open that document, and you will see it's based on the case study bit or buy. So it's also having answers. So it's kind of like a memorandum that was used here. So in terms of the case study on the next pages, you'll see it's about 2 pages or 1 page and a half. This is what you need to do for your assignment. So this was bid or buy as an example. And now regarding bid or buy, you will see digital marketing plan guidelines on the next page. When you develop a digital marketing plan, you use the SOS stack, which stands for situation analysis, objectives, strategy, tactics, actions, and control. In that section, situation analysis, basically here you need to analyze what online digital tools are used by an organization according to the 8 Ps. This is chapter 2 basically. At this point, I think you are able to do this. And 1.2, you develop objectives. Students should propose a digital strategy objective for each of the 5 S of digital marketing objectives. This was chapter 1, so at this point you're also able to do. When it comes to 1.3, that is strategy. Digital marketing strategies include social media marketing, which we're gonna look into today, which is chapter 5. Website as a strategy, as well as mobile marketing options as a strategy. So in digital marketing, there are 3 strategies that we can use or we can adapt: social media, the website, as well as the mobile marketing, which includes the mobile apps as well. And here you will see that what you need to do is to examine how the organization uses these strategies to achieve specific objectives. So in the digital marketing plan, basically what it means is that you do the situation analysis of the company just to get an idea how are they doing online, and then you develop objectives for obviously from the next few years to say where they need to be. And then in these objectives, they should need to talk to the strategies, how we're going to achieve those objectives. For example, if you have proposed to sell here, what strategy are you going to use to sell? Most of the time, the companies uses the website. If you come to serve, what strategy are you going to use to actually serve customers? Most of the time, things such as the website is used and social media is used to speak. Social media can be used. So these strategies is the strategies that talks to your objectives. As well as they talk to situation analysis, because you cannot develop strategies without doing a situation analysis for those strategies. You need to find out if they have the social media first. Do they have the website? What are the content that is on those platforms as well? So chapter 5, this is where it comes in terms of your digital marketing plan. This is where I wanted us to get to. So this document, digital marketing plan, will help you to show you that template or that structure of what the digital marketing plan looks like. And I think showing you the example of the answers from the case study, it also assists you to develop to help you develop your assessment or do things such as situation analysis as well. So coming back to the assignment, you need to complete that step. So you're going to develop a case study. After developing case study, you're going to do situation analysis, like it says here, conducting situation analysis. So by that stage, you don't need to actually develop the objectives. So in this assignment, we won't have objectives. We won't have things such as tactics and control. That will be assignment 4 or assessment 4. So if we quickly open that example, if we quickly open this example, this is where your assignment, your next assessment 3, it requires you to develop the case study, which I've mentioned, and the second thing is to do situation analysis, which is the step. And then you probably towards the end of the assessment 3, by then you won't develop objective, you won't come to strategies that will be linked to your assessment 4. So you need to submit assessment 3 on the 6th, yeah, the 6th of August. Once it's submitted, I will analyze the case study and you'll wait for feedback. If the feedback indicates that the case study is not good, it means you cannot continue with the assessment or the case study in your next assessment, because assessment 4 will be linked to assessment 3. So the case study that you develop, you're going to use it again for assessment 4 to continue to do the objectives, the strategy. To do the tactics, this is chapter 7, tactics, as well as actions and control. So by that time, we should have covered those chapters as well. So another tip that I wanted to share with you is that before you develop the case study, you need to actually basically look for what is required from you as a student. So in this case, what is required from you is to do situation analysis, which means you are trying to find out things such as their product, their pricing strategies, their placing, and so on. So when you search for additional information that is probably not on the website, for example, let's say you wanna search for things such as prices, you can't find the prices on the website, or you can't find things such as the process or the people or physical evidence and so on. On Google, you're gonna use those marketing mix elements. For example, you can say, we're using an example of Timer Bank. Yeah, so if we are using, so promotion, it can be Timer Bank Advert. As an example, you wanna see how did they advertise their product. So you'll see here on Facebook, they have that. So that could be your next source where you describe this advert and so on. So on the guidelines, so I will talk about as the next one. When you search other sources, you search the marketing mix. Search the marketing mix. In digital, it's a remix, marketing mix on Google. That will be the elements itself and case study, and then you will be able to find the information that you need. For example, here we're searching for promotion. You will see some of information now might not be, you don't want to reference Timer Bank anymore. You want to reference other website as well. And you can also make it broad here, because remember, when you say advert, you're simply talking about advertising, not promotion in general. So make it broad, or use any of the keywords that makes sense for you here. For example, this, let's say maybe we are searching for people, we will say help page, something like that, help center. That's what we get here. Or contact us page, that could also work. It's customer support, so that's what they use. Timer Bank customer service. Although this information is in the case study, it will be on the primary website of the case study, which means you can simply find it here. If you feel like you're running out of sources, you can rather take it from another source so that you reference that source as well. So that's the tip I wanted to share with you regarding that, but just make sure that the information is correct. So for example, in this case, you'll see there are different websites such as this one. They talk about Timer Bank and so on. So things such as Google Play, you can use that as well and talk about what are the ratings, what are the reviews of the case study that you're talking about. You can also quote some of the reviews because this information can be used in your marketing mix remix where you start talking about things such as people, for example, or physical evidence of the product. Going back to the assessment again, you will see that in addition to those 8 P's, you will also need to do motivations and expectation. This is chapter 4. So you describe what are the motivations of those digital customers in relation to the case that you are dealing with. If it's something such as you wrote about Tinder, their motivations were things such as for social, where elsewhere we looked at bid or buy, they are motivated to go online for different reasons, which is shopping, on Netflix, it could be entertainment. And then the expectations of those organizational digital customers. Still on chapter 4, we also learn about the FUDs on chapter 4, the fears. So if you download the slides again, the fears, uncertainties, and doubts of customers. So this will be on your section C of the assignment. You'll have to examine that. It's important here. I'll have to emphasize because I saw students losing marks last year, and this they were required to do something similar to this. It is important to note that section C of the assignment is based on Annexure A. So when you read the guidelines, it says read the case study in Annexure A and answer the following questions. So if you go down, you've got a take a lot case study, which is Annexure A, and this case study, it's simply need to be used for section C. So for section C, you don't use your own case study. Remember, you will develop your own case study and answer section B. And when you come to section C, you're no longer using that same case study. So I've saw students losing marks last year whereby they examined possible fears and uncertainties and doubts, but they actually related that to the case that they developed. So relate them to the take a lot case study, which is developed below here. Personas and scenario-based design, we spoke about that in chapter 4 as well, and it's also related to a take a lot case study. So there is quite a lot of ideas that you can think about. So think about that digital organization that you will have. It must have a South African market. It does not mean that it must be based in South Africa. As long as South African consumers are actually purchasing those digital products of that specific company, it's relevant. You can use that. It must just have its South African digital market. So, for example, if I use an example is, we're using example of Timer Bank here. This is a South African organization. It's having a South African market, but another student can use an example, for example, such as Netflix. I'll just say South Africa here on Google search, and then you'll see that it does have a South African market. You can see things such as prices. You can see things such as their products, which are basically the content, such as movies and series, is the South African one. So as long as it's having a South African market, it can be used. So if someone were to develop something such as Netflix, it will be a relevant case study for the assessment, although it's not a South African organization. I must indicate that you cannot use organization that have already been included in your assessment. So if you read there, you can refer to those previous assessments, but you cannot actually develop case studies such as Timer Bank, Gumtree. So you'll have to think out of the box. There is quite a lot of digital organizations. So let it be something that you're passionate about, something that you actually feel like it's gonna be easy for you to understand as well as to assess and do the assignment for. So the case study is up to you for assessment 3. So like I've indicated in the when you're looking into the digital marketing plan, the next step that we have to look into is actually strategy. And that is, we're going to start talking about social media marketing as a strategy. So let's discuss the social marketing media or social media marketing. So on Brightspace, under learning content, we are on learning unit 4, which is chapter 5. We download the PowerPoint slides. That's the first thing. So I've already downloaded that. Just gonna quickly open.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Bo.
Sorry to disturb you, but I wanted some clarity regarding the assignment section B.
Assignment section B. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
sir. Are we only gonna do the situation analysis?
Yes, 100%. Thank you for that question. And like I've indicated previously in my online classes, if you have any question, yeah, just unmute your mic because you can see I'm not on the platform here. So I'm not able to see your hands if you are raising hands. So it's better for you to just unmute your mic like you did. So to answer your question here, and I think it will help you for other students as well, is that yes, we are only doing situation analysis. So we are not going to do objectives, but that is for assessment 3. So when you come to assessment 4, you will see that those things will be required, depending on whether the case study that you've developed is relevant and accepted or not. So you'll see here it says section B, conducting situation analysis. So it's very specific about that. And then the second thing is to look at the marking rubric. So when you come to the marking rubric, and then you look under section B of the marking rubric, you will see the marks will be allocated for situation analysis under product, the physical place and everything. And then there's also motivations of digital customers and expectations of digital customers there. So use the rubric as well to guide you in terms of what is you need to include in the assessment. Not sure if that is crystal clear.
It's crystal, sir. Thank you.
All right. So you're gonna use that marking rubric. It's gonna help you a lot. For example, if I were to answer your question and say, yes, you are only doing situation analysis, the next question is, what aspects are you considering at that situation analysis? Are we doing all of them? Is the all 8 Ps? And then in addition to that situation, what else can be also be done under situation analysis? So beside the 8 mix, you're also gonna do the motivation and expectation. So that marking rubric, I think it's gonna help you as well to understand how the marks will be allocated. You can also use the marking rubric to look into how the marks will be allocated for case studies. For example, identify digital organization in a South African market. You will see that sometimes students will develop a case that is not in a South African market at all. The prices are in dollars and so on, and we cannot use that. So there is a mark for that. You have that 2-page case study. You have the in-text references, you've got the list of references, you've got annex charts there, such as pictures and so on. So the marking rubric, I think it will be very helpful for actually to indicate what is required from you. So going back to chapter 5, so now I've downloaded the slides, and I think you should do something similar as well to download the slides and have them. And then it's on page 223. So also have a textbook in front of you. There's somewhere we're going to highlight on the textbook that's going to help you as well to read more. Chapter 5, page 223 in the textbook. And now regarding social media, in our assessment criteria, the importance of social media is discussed. We're going to discuss that. The POST framework is applied to develop a social media strategy. POST social stands for people, objectives, strategy, tech, as well as technology. We're going to look into that framework. How do you apply it in terms of digital marketing? Content marketing and engagement strategy for brand is developed, as well as social media is optimized using social media marketing tools and resources. So let's get to it and start with in terms of social media, and start by talking about how it differs and why it's important and how does it differ from social media marketing. In your own time, please watch some of the YouTube videos. They are very helpful. So on the next slide, you will see that you've got some videos that you need to watch. And then in brackets here, they tell you what the video is about. So this one's, they all talk about social media. And then you've got some talking about inbound and outbound marketing. It's important to understand the differences between those two. Let's start the discussion on page 225. So that's on the next page in the textbook. Let's look in terms of the definition of social media. You can highlight there on top of page 225. Actually, it's already written in bold there to actually explain to you what is social media. So what we see here is that they indicate three things. Social media refer to the internet or mobile digital channels that allow and encourage three things. The first one is audience participation. So on page 225, in paragraph number 2, the last sentence, you'll see that's where they actually rephrase the definition of that social media definition, or explanation. They rephrase it, and you'll see they written in italics, so you can highlight there. Social media should encourage audience participation. And when we talk about audience participation, we're talking about such as how many people are following the page, things such as followers, the likes of the profile. So this is basically community. And this could be tweets and so on, as well as interaction. You will see these interactions, they're Facebook interactions. At first, we only had one interaction. We could only interact with the content using comment on Facebook when it started. And then they started including things such as like, and then they included as well as share, which means we can interact with the content. Most of the time, commenting is the most interaction that we find on social media. Whenever we see a post and then we tend to comment, that is interacting with another person or the post itself. Even if you they've changed these buttons now, it's more than just like. You can show angry faces and so on, because at some stage it was a question whereby some people write sad news and so on, and now people will like that. And what does it mean when you have sad news and you posted them on social media such as Facebook, and some people like that? Does it mean they like you having bad news and so on? So that was a question that was asked quite a lot of time regarding social media and their like button. And at least now you can have a sad face regarding that. So interaction as well as sharing that to post it on your profile or to share it with another person. That's the last one, which says it should allow that. But it also talks about sharing the experience. So it allows you to share the experience with other users. For example, to rate an app, to post the reviews of an app, you are sharing that. For example, if you go to Google Play or the App Store, before you download anything, you'll see what other users are saying about that particular a product or a service and so on. So that is what social media is. So social media is just a digital channel that allows audience participation, interaction, and sharing. That's the definition of what social media is. In the textbook, you also need to highlight on page 224. The first thing that they mention on page 224 at the bottom of the page, they say social media means different things to different people. And then they start by giving you such a nice introduction. So try and read that introduction there to explain to you what is social media, because what they try to show or to summarize what they are saying there is that most people, when they think about social media, they think about social networks, which are things such as Facebook, things such as Instagram. But that is it. Social network is just 1 out of 8 of the types of social media. So we're going to look into the other types of social media here as well. But in terms of the definition, if the website allows us to interact with their content, to share that content, and to participate or show participation, is defined as what is social media is, especially the comment button. That's what actually separates social media from most of the website, that consumers can interact with each other. So the interaction and the comment being the interaction, it plays a huge role there. The importance of social media, and in this case, we're talking about the importance of social media is that when you look on page 227 in the textbook, that's where they talk about it there. So now, in terms of the importance of social media, there's something that you need to highlight there. They mention the first one is that social media has a huge appeal to marketers. We are marketers, we are brand advertisers and so on. So it has a huge appeal to us because it can support a cause amongst consumers in such a way that when they share positive comments about the product, we are supporting that cause. So the importance of social media is that in marketing, or for us marketers, is that it can be a source of word of mouth because when consumers share positive comments, we see that helping us as marketers to actually make our product or our brand more visible, more known, can increase awareness and so on. And it also helps us in terms of the user-generated content. So the importance of social media is that most people, when they come to social media, they create their own content. For example, you will see things such as the post that you find on Facebook or the TikTok videos and so on, is that people use their own content most of the time, although we do have some people who share most of the time things that we already know and they receive few likes. But when they do their own content and they relate that content to a product, we refer to that as the importance of social media, because once they create their own content and then they relate it to the product, maybe they are holding a can of Coke or they are actually talking about Netflix in their content and so on, it can create a viral effect, and it's known that as a social media amplification. And you can see how it's important to marketers because it allows the company to be known or to be viral at a certain stage. And inbound marketing, on the next slide, you will see we talk about inbound and outbound marketing to understand what it means there. So basically, regarding outbound and inbound marketing, maybe you'll understand it from the way it's push and pull strategies, whereby the push strategy is where the company or the marketers, they push information to customers, and you will see that will be outbound. Things such as television, things such as radio, things such as the mail, outdoor advertising, all of those are outbound marketing because they push content to marketers. But where with the pull strategies, we've got the interaction, we've got consumers coming to the company interacting, and that's where social media comes in. So things such as paid advertising, the blogs, the videos, that is inbound marketing. And that's where social media comes in, and it's important because it's no longer us pushing information to customers. Customers can push information to other customers, as well as they pull them from the website, so they are able to get that information. For example, right now, if I wanted to know how much it costs to purchase a certain product, if I have to rely on outbound, I'll have to wait for an advert to play on TV. However, with inbound, I can simply pull that information from the website and go to the website and search the prices of the products and the differences. So that's the difference that we get there. And social media is one of the inbound marketing that we see there happening. So that's why social media is more important than the TV advert and so on in terms of marketers. But how does that relate or differ from social media marketing? Because now we're just talking about social media. So now we need to talk about social media marketing. Remember, social media, like we defined on the previous slides, any digital channel that allows interaction, that allows sharing, that is social media. But social media marketing is an activity. So in terms of marketing, we include an activity of using the media channels, which were described above, to monitor and facilitate customer interaction, that participation. So you'll see all those three actions that we spoke about under social media. They come back again in terms of social media marketing, but now as marketers, we need to monitor that, to observe what are they saying about the company, as well as to facilitate means like responding to the customer comments, deleting unnecessary comments or rude comments and so on, to encourage positive engagement. And that's why I'm saying we can also delete some of the comments if they are with the company, or maybe you can respond to them rather than deleting them. There's quite nice research that talks about the impact of availability of negative comments and how the company responded to those comments in terms of customer decision making. So if I see customer responding to those comments, it could be that the fault was at customer side, or they are taking responsibility, they're becoming accountable. That plays a huge role in consumer decision making. Leading to commercial value. This is an important part of social media marketing, is that we use it for commercial value. And in marketing, the commercial value is to make profit in general. All companies want to make profit. So social media marketing, it refers to an activity of using those media to monitor the customer participations. So this is, for example, us using a social media such as Facebook as a company. We have a Facebook page. We monitor what customers are saying about our brand, but we are using that information to make profit. For example, that could be to retain customers. For example, we solve their problems, such as an example that you see on the slides. We indicate to them, thank you for writing to us, please accept our apology, and so on. All those things lead to things such as commercial value, because we are building a brand as a company. I would also talk a little bit about the difference regarding social media marketing. Social media marketing is whereby, if you look, let's use practical examples. I love practical examples because they illustrate nicely. If you look at different companies, how they use social media, you can tell there that they are using it for marketing purposes, or they are using it for other purposes. And then, for example, let's quickly go to, if we say social media such as social network. So for example, if you quickly go to Facebook and we search for a certain company on Facebook, let me quickly log in here. And I know a company such as Apple. Let's quickly share the screen back. Apple does not use social media for marketing purposes, and I will show you now on the screen. So what you see here on Facebook, if you search Apple and you look into their Facebook page, you will see it has a lot of followers. social media, this is basically participation. About 13 million people, they've liked the brand. And now, when you look at the post, they've updated their cover last year, December. And before then, they updated their cover. You will see, by the way, I like this page, which means that it's not something that to do with the visibility, whereby maybe they don't show content where you do not follow the page. So I'm following the page. They updated their cover page, about 6,000 comments just for updating their page, and they do not respond to any of these comments. That was last year updated the page. There is nothing about serving customers or selling their products, advertising their products. It's just updating their page basically most of their time here. So they don't use it for marketing purposes. However, you'll also see that they have links such as learn more about the product. They do use other platforms. For example, like I've told you, you've got 3 strategies that you can use in digital marketing. For example, the website itself, it's very good for marketing purposes, because on the website, when you go to the Apple website, like they said, learn more, and you go to that Apple website, you are able to compare products here. You are able to see price of the product. You are able to order a product immediately on the website. So you will see the strategy that they are using for their marketing purposes. It's the website. I can see prices here. I can shop now. I can compare and so on. But on social media, I cannot find any of that. And I can also not look at the information whereby they talk about a specific brand. So they don't use it for marketing purposes. I want to compare this with something such as retail. Retail stores use social media for marketing. So for example, if you search something such as Pick and Pay or Macro here, you will see that they are using social media for marketing purposes. First of all, what we see here is that on the page itself, it says shop now, which allows you to actually buy products. And some products or some social media accounts, they have mashups, and mashups simply means that instead of, when I click here, instead of the website taking me, opening another link like it does here, this is not a mashup. Mashup, it will be continuing on Facebook. I can buy here on Facebook. So some of these retail stores, they've went even more to mesh it up with the Facebook. And you will see as well as the content that they post as well. It tells you that this is used for marketing purposes. For example, this could be things such as enjoy your breakfast in style with Smack, and then you'll see that this is for marketing purposes because we see products, we see prices there. We also see things such as the catalog, the products that, so retail stores on most of the time they use social media for marketing purposes. So it's important to note the differences. We can also search something such as another retail, especially online retail stores like superlist.com. It does use social media for marketing purposes. It's a retailer as well, but the brands or the big brands, like especially some brands, they use it. Samsung. If you were to search something such as Samsung, you'll see the difference with Apple here is that they use social media for marketing purposes as well compared to Apple. They are able to advertise their products. So on superlist.com, you'll see things such as up to 70% off. Something, the biggest sale, something such as this one, we see social media being used for marketing purposes because this is clearly promotion that they are posting here. I've mentioned one more example here, things such as takealot.com as well. They use social media for marketing purposes. So it's important to note the difference between social media and social media marketing. So we differentiate between those two by looking at how it's used in general. Is it used for marketing purposes and so on? This is an important part of this chapter, the Forrester post methodology. So maybe you can write NP next to it. So that will be on page 230 in the textbook. And then at the bottom of the page there, you've got the Forrester post methodology in the yellow box. And you can see it's defined We use this strategy, for example, POST method stand for P stand for people, where you've got objectives, you've got strategy, and you've got technology. And that's basically your chapter 5. So if you can understand this, that's why I want you to write it NB. You can understand how does the POST methodology work, you basically understand how chapter 5 works. So the importance of social media marketing, we've discussed that. So what we are here now, we are discussing the POST methodology. The first one, people. Under people, you want to, when you look on page 231, you also want to highlight the in the textbook where they talk about people there. On top, you want to assess your customer social activities. Objectives, you want to decide what you want to accomplish in terms of social media. We've already discussed these objectives, so you already know the objectives of digital marketing. Those are the 5S objective, for example, to sell, to serve, so they're still the same here. Strategy, plan for how relationship with customer will change. So depending on the objective that you'll be using, the strategies will be different. So if strategies for speaks are different from strategies for sell. Technology, decide which social technologies to use. Earlier on, I've mentioned that when you refer to social media, most people think about social networks, but we've got 8 types of social media. And then that is social technologies as well. So looking in terms of the social technology, or for example, if I use something such as YouTube is also a social media. Remember, in our definition, we said social media, it allows participation, it allows interaction, it allows sharing. YouTube allows all those things. People can comment, they can like the comments on YouTube. So, but it's not a social network. So that is another type of technology, another type of social media. We refer to it as social streaming site, YouTube. So we look into the differences between those 8 types that we have there. So let's start with the people. In terms of the POST framework, how you apply this framework. The first thing that you do under people, on page 254, understanding the adoption of social media by audience, in the textbook, you can highlight as well there. Quickly, 254. Basically, there are 2 things that they talk about on that page, but it's already on the slide as well, is that you must develop the personas, which we've covered in chapter 4. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time actually discussing this. You must develop personas. And then now the personas, remember the personas are the is an ideal person or a description of an ideal customer, for example, in terms of their age, their lifestyle, their media interest, and so on. And then you also develop scenario-based designs. But now in social media, we've got different types of scenario-based designs. For example, we've got people that we refer to them as creators in the in social media. Those are people who create content, conventionalists. Most of the time, these are the ones that we have conversation in the comment, or they like to comment a lot. And then you've got critics. You've got collectors of information. They like to save, they like to do screenshot critics. So basically, I want us to open on page 236 in the textbook. On page 236 of the textbook, you've got all this scenario-based design. Remember, this scenario-based design, on chapter 4, we were not looking in terms of social media, so we couldn't use these words like creators, conventionalists. These are the scenario-based designs for social media. So on page 236, if you look there, you've got that ladder. And then that ladder shows you the scenarios of basically the typical type of a customer. It also shows you the research, what they've collected in terms of customers, how many percentage of people were creators, for example, and so on. Research indicates that there is only 1% of your audience on social media. So if you take your TikTok, it's only 1% of people that are creators. Most of people will watch videos. They will never create a video on TikTok. They will never even comment. So most of the time, those are spectators in a way, because they are simply watching, the observers. And when they go to things like social media, you'll feel like they don't even have a social media account or social media page. But they do have it. They simply just observe, they are spectators, they don't comment. And then you've got, they use this rule. I'm going to quickly go to the next page here. On your own time, you can search it as well. It's called the 99.1 model. So this model, what it says, it's that you've got 90% of your users here. It's 90% equals to spectators in most of the time, and it's quite true. And the 9%, they refer to them as basically those are your conventionalists, but they use a different name that they use. I think they use the word critics. And then only 1% is basically your creators. And they've tested this hypothesis a lot, and it came out correctly. I want to test it as well with you today, basically. So now I'm not going to use this one. It was just another one just to illustrate, different from the one that is on the textbook. So we're going to use the one on the textbook. The textbook, it shows us page 236. Inactives, those people have a social media account, but they are no longer even logging in as well. They've logged in 3 years ago, for example. So those are the scenario-based design. So we're gonna take a 2-minute break. And in this 2-minute break, I want you to comment in the chat box, what type of social media user are you? So please comment whether you are a creator, you're a conventionalist, you're a critic, you're a joiner or spectator, using your own weights or thinking about your own self when you go to social media, like going to TikTok or going to Facebook. So in the chat box there, please comment what type of social media user are you? And then we're gonna continue with class at 22, just a 2-minute break for us to actually breathe a bit. So we'll comment in the chat box the type of user that you are and show your participation. Then we're going to continue with class in about 2 minutes. So using your answers, thank you for participation there. Using your answers as an example, I want to test this 99-1 rule. It says only 1% are creators. So I see, Lucky, you are saying you're a creator. So if we go to your social media account, will we find your content there, or you're just lying to us? We will find you content. For example, if you're a TikTok, you've got your own TikTok videos. You can see here, most people say they are spectators. They do have social media account regarding that. So now spectators, you'll see a lot of spectators, and it's true because basically they do have social media, but they hardly basically post their own content. For example, this could be such as a TikTok video, this could be a post. When you share, you are not a creator, just you are a conventionalist because you are keeping the convention going. Conventionalists are also the ones that comment and so on. Mbozati, you are a critic. Critics, most people don't like critics. I'm glad that you have confidence to say that, but critics are the ones that actually will correct you and so on social media and so on. But I think the theory stays and the hypothesis, it stays the same. Is a 99-1 users that we have on the audience. So what you need to do when you develop the post framework, you start by developing scenarios and find out what types of users you have on your social media account, and that's it with the people. And now we come to the second one. You've got some example in the slides showing you the type of audience on different social media accounts. For example, in almost the first two, we've got women participating more than men. For example, on Pinterest, there's only 17% male participation. I also don't have a Pinterest account. I would agree with this research. Facebook, there's more females, 50, almost a balance there. But with Twitter is different. There's more males in Twitter account users. You'll see there's 54% of males. So think about your audience. This is helpful in terms of developing a social media strategy. For example, if this is a First for Women campaign, you'll see that where you have First for Women is mostly targeted for women, you will need to think about your audience that I'm actually targeting that specific one. But it's not only age groups. Remember, the persona including such as lifestyle, these people, access to the internet, which plays a role, and so on. For example, if they are using unlimited data or uncapped data, it tells you that I can post videos for these people. They don't have problem with data, whereas when they are using prepaid, maybe I should stick using post rather than posting information such as videos. So I can use pictures to save them data and so on. And then you're done with people when you develop it. So you come to the second one, which is objective, which is the O of the post framework. So like I've said, objectives are in relation with the strategy, meaning that whatever objective you have there, you will have different strategies. So you will see that the PowerPoint slides, they tell you the page on top there, page 241. We also included it here because it allows you to actually highlight that information in the textbook. So let's start with the sell. If you want to sell on social media, grow online sales, reach, act, or engage, things such as, for example, increasing brand awareness. This is not about actually serving customers. You can do certain strategies, and let's go to page 241 and you highlight those strategies. So on page 241, you've got about 4 strategies there, which tell you, you will see them: enhance customer service through social marketing, activity 4, activity 5, you need to write with a pen or a pencil there in the textbook. Activity 4, increase sales to existing customers. So that, as it says, increase sales. So that is a sell strategies, your objectives there. And you will see on top there on page 241, you've got things such as social outpost. For example, if you create a sponsored social media advert on Facebook, most of the time we usually used to seeing sponsored advert is a page that you don't follow, but it shows you the content. For example, I don't follow pages such as, there is a one that pops up a lot on Facebook, which sells products. Every time, trail of thought, every time I think about it and I want to indicate the company's name, it doesn't come into my mind, but it's the one that sells, okay, it's really distracting me now to think about it. So we know what is a sponsored advert. For example, if you don't follow Pick and Pay, if you don't follow ShopRite, but you are able to see ShopRite sponsoring their advert there, we can use that to actually sell. We can have our own community, for example, our own social media page. If we open our social media page, open our own group, for example, TUT marketing students digital marketing page, that will be our own community. We can use that to sell as well. Email marketing invite, it also works. For example, this could run via newsletter, whereby we say, please, you can actually sign up for our newsletter, and we can also use mobile app for that. Things such as reviews and ratings, they work. Our mobile platform, they work a lot as a strategy to sell on social media. So mobile app, this is for example, a Facebook application, our WhatsApp group, that's where it comes in, our WhatsApp as a mobile application. We can use these strategies to sell, and we've seen a lot of people actually using social media, for example, maybe selling their Avon products, things such as their Herbalife products on social media. And most of the time they don't use the social outpost because they don't sponsor those adverts. They have their own community. They have their own social media page account for that. And we see quite a lot of that. So those are the strategies specifically for selling. So if you want to sell using social media, you highlight those strategies. But when you look on page 241, you've got another strategies again under activity 5. Enhance customer service through social media marketing. That's number 2. And what you need to write there, that is to serve customers. And then now in terms of to serve customers, remember serving customers is about resolving customer issues, but now we are limited to social media. So now on social media, we've got 2 strategies. The first one that is written on page 241 as well under activity 5, we can use social or online listening, or we can use social research. So online listening is broad. We can use tools such as, for example, the Google Real Time. It works very nicely. I wish I had enough time to actually illustrate for you what is Google Real Time, but we can quickly show you just a little bit here. Google Real Time, you can use that. If I search here what people are searching for in South Africa, okay, past tense, it shows you the trends, daily search trends. For example, in South Africa, what are the trends? But now, you will see that most people have searched the Kardashian on the 8th July, TB Joshua, SABC News. These were the things, Esma Khashule, and so on. These are the things that were searched, but most of the time we want the real-time ones. It will want you to set those daily trends, so it will start being a process. But you will Twitter is an example that I can use. When you log into Twitter, you can see the trends, what is trending in South Africa. Probably like yesterday or this week, Jacob Zuma was trending a lot and so on. So you can use such things to understand your customers more, to know what information they're searching for. But with Google real-time trends, you will have to mention your brand, and then it's able to pick up what people have said regarding your brand on social media. So that's the nice thing. So if you have a company and then you are able to actually fill in the information there on Google real time. For example, every time a person searches for, you can also do it as an individual. For example, every time a person searches your names and it alerts you, and then on search engines, but it works nicely with the products, and you can find things such as the spelling errors that they make, and you can use that information to improve your products. So on social research, this is natural analysis. This is not something that it's do automation. So the difference between number 1 and number 2 is that online listening is automation. It does it monitors your brand mentions automatically. You just fill in information there. This is my brand. Every time a person search for that brand, it notifies you. But this one is a natural one. I will go on Google and look what is trending. I would look at the Facebook account, I would look at the Twitter account, look in terms of my YouTube customer complaints and try and look at what the customer are complaining about. So if, for example, we were on superlist.com website, if I was doing the second strategy, which is natural social research, and I'm working for Superlist, I will look into the post and I will come under comments. There is less comments. For example, I will come here. We need out of stock voucher, please. At least we can use that information. Please advise which items are 70% off. We can respond to this comment and so on. And basically that is doing the natural listening of social media. And then you outreach, you answer those questions. Those are the two strategies. You'll see in the textbook, you've got 4 strategies that you can use, but these are the 2 that I recommend for serving objective. You can also look into terms of these videos in the slides. They describe for you what is content marketing and then how you can use content marketing, especially to serve customers. If your goal or your objective is to speak, remember there's a difference between speaking and selling. And we talk a lot about this in terms of which target customers are you talking to. Are these new customers? Are these your existing customers? Most of the time with speak and sell, it's always your new customers, but you can also use it for existing customers at some scenarios. So if the company wants to actually have some brand awareness, it's just about actually communicating with consumers. On page 255, we've got strategies for that. So you need to highlight in the textbook as well quickly. Page 255, and this they written under content formats to fuel content campfires. And then you will see you've got 6 there in those bullets. You can quickly highlight those strategies. You can post videos explaining basically your product. You can post ebooks, things such as audios, the webinars, which is similar to seminars, but is online, the live videos. Infographics works nicely, especially we've seen this during the COVID period. For example, let's quickly do a practical example. If you say Department of Health, let's quickly show you what an infographic is. So most of the time, this is an infographic as an example, telling you how many cases, new cases, daily reports, active cases in Free State, and so on. So you will see that they are using social media to speak to consumers here. So that is an example of an infographic. They work nicely. And then on the next slides, we've got some more recent ones that you can use. They tend to love to use the memes a lot to post, and then that works a lot on social media as well. So here you've got more photographic is infographic that you see there. The memes, they work quite a lot, or they are more effective to communicate. So those are the strategies for speaking objective of using social media that you can suggest, or you also look into how the company uses those strategies as well. On the next slide, we've got the last objective, and that is to sizzle or to build new experiences with the brand or customer to interact with the brand. So the strategies for that, they are on page 284. So you will skip those pages and also highlight those strategies as well. So on page 284, how can we sizzle the brand online? You will see you've got 5 strategies that they indicate improve social media effectiveness or optimizing social media. And then they talk about the first one there. You can create a shareable content. For example, this could be whereby you do a hashtag and you become creative, and then people start to share that hashtag, it goes viral and so on. You can reward engagement. For example, if customers, the top fan page, we've seen it on Facebook, you're a top commenter and so on. Incentives, you can do that for commenting, for liking. Automation works as well. Things such as encourage mashup. What I've wanted to show you as an example of a mashup, it does this works quite well in terms of improving the customer experience. A mashup, it's where you embed links, YouTube web codes, for example, instead of where you on Brightspace we do have some YouTube video, but it's on Brightspace. You can watch it on Brightspace. It's embedded there, so that's what the word mashup means. To show you another practical example of what mashup looks like, Facebook on the smartphone, it's using mashup. For example, if I'm looking at this infographic, and you'll see this is a link. When I click on it, basically, here it opens a picture. It's supposed to take me to a real, okay, let's see here. Let's look for a link. Let's use News 24 because everything, something such as ENCA or anything about Sowetan and so on, because most of the time these websites, they actually publish news here. For example, something such as this one, they've got a story here. On a smartphone, when you click here, it does not open Google Chrome or open Google Explorer like it's using here. It opens the article itself within Facebook. So it does not close Facebook. You're staying on Facebook. You are reading this article, only this article on Facebook. You cannot Google anything. And that's what mashup means. It simply means that you allow all this article to be viewed in one platform. So that works quite well in terms of improving social media or the brand experience. Form a connection with the users. For example, use a social sign-in method. Instead of saying create an account, the users can simply just sign up using their Facebook account. So these strategies, they work for sizzling brand. You can think more if you wanna make it more practical, the virtual reality, how you can implement it on Facebook or on social media. You can think more of games as well, how that can be used as well to actually increase the brand experience. I know the games, the competitions, they work. So on page 284 and page 285, they don't have them there, but you can write them with a pen or a pencil as well. But all of those things will fall under reward engagement. Those are things such as, games. That's where they come in. Things such as competitions. You can write them with a pen or a pencil under reward engagement in a textbook itself, because it allows consumers to actually interact with the brand more. And then the last thing that we talk about in the post is the technology. This was discussed earlier in the chapter. So this is an important part, and I think this is something that we can be able to differentiate ourselves as digital marketers, to say we understand social media more in terms of social networks, or in terms of social platforms. Sorry, not social networks, social platforms. Than any other regular person, because when another person, or we just ask them what is social media, they think about social network, and that is just one type. So I think you should also write NB in the textbook. You want to go back to page 225 for this. And then on page 225, you will see what are the main social platforms at the bottom there. And then they say there are main types. These are the 8 main types of social platforms available to you. The first one is social network. I've provided practical example in the textbook. They define them for you. Facebook, Instagram, your Snapchat, your LinkedIn, your Twitter. And you've got social publishing and news. It also forms part of social media, and I will explain why here. News 24, your ENCA, your Sowetan Live, and so on. So when we read the definition, it says social media, it allows, is any platform or channel that allows 3 actions. The first one was participation, showing the number of users which follow that, which allows commenting, which allows sharing. So if you go to this website, for example, if you quickly go to Sowetan here, at some stage, I don't know if they do have still allow it, is that when you read the article, it had a community. So if you open this article, for example, and then you go down here, where is the article? Okay, this is the article here. Okay, it wants me to sign in. So, but once you sign in, you'll be able to see that actually it allows users to have their comments, to share their comments. Let's quickly try News 24. And then there's the article itself. Okay, this is a live thing. So I want something that is published. So this seems like live broadcast. So let's take that article. At the bottom, what it usually allows you once you've signed in, probably even this one wants us to sign in, is that it allows you to comment on the article, and then you can share those comments with other users and so on. And that's why it becomes a social media platform as well. So we refer to this, to those one as social publishing and news. We've got social commenting in blogs. For example, the most famous one is Wiki South Africa as a blog, which it's written by people to tell you about specific things in South Africa or specific places. The social niche communities, for example, this niche communities talks about the way niche is that we are focusing on a specific topic. For example, biz community, it's focusing on business. So the articles that they focus on business articles, and you will see it still allows those 3 actions, the community, the participation, the interaction, as well as sharing. My broadband is more famous as well to share what is currently happening, especially the new innovations in terms of technology, the gadgets, and so on. My broadband tends to focus on that niche. Social customer service, this one is very clear. It's about customer service, but it's a social network because it allows other customers to comment on those complaints, on those reviews that other customers write about the brand. We've got social knowledge website. This is whereby you're looking for information. Wikipedia is the one that we know most of the time is our social knowledge website. You can search anything there. There's profiles of people on Wikipedia. Important people, I must indicate, profile of important people on Wikipedia. So if your profile is not on Wikipedia, don't feel bad. Most of us, our profiles are not there because we don't need to be known. We never went viral, or we're not that important yet. I don't know. Social screaming site, I spoke about this one. We are YouTube. This is about screaming, but it must allow those interaction and so on. And the last one is a social commerce. With the social commerce, we are talking about basically your digital signage. Most of the time, your kiosks, For example, the kiosk that you find at McDonald's, you find in a shopping mall, those signs that you find there, if they allow you to actually like content, to post content, the gaming platforms and so on, they're still part of the social media platform. So you will understand that most of the time we will talk about social network a lot more than the other ones, but I do know for a fact that social commerce is growing. Your YouTube, your social streaming, sorry, not commerce, social streaming is growing, especially your Netflix, although it won't come here because it's just a streaming site, Netflix, it doesn't have any social part of it. But if they can allow a social part on Netflix, it can actually be more nicer than the way it is now, because consumers will be able to talk about and discuss a specific movie or a specific series directly on the Netflix website. At the moment, it does not allow that. It only allows you to actually interact with the content. For example, I can like a movie on Netflix, I can give it 5 stars and so on, but I cannot write a comment and so on. So these are the social platforms that we can use. So using the post methodology, you will see, for example, in the class activity that you have here. So let's quickly go there. In the class activity that you have for this chapter, how many marks, or basically how is this question asked in terms of the post methodology? So if you look in terms of question 4, it says use the Forrester post methodology to help Timer Bank develop a social media strategy based on the case study and comments. That's for 20 marks. So how do you answer a question such as this one, especially if you're looking at the marks such as 20 marks, is that usually you will develop one post methodology for each objective. So if you've got 2 objectives for a company, the company wants to sell and it also wants to serve, you will have 2 frameworks, because each framework, the objectives and the strategies will be different, meaning that in one framework, if I spoke about that this company, for example, this methodology, they want to speak, you will see the strategies that I'll be discussing or I'll be suggesting for that company. Under speak, it could be, for example, let them use memes, a lot of memes on Instagram. And then for me to say on Instagram, I've already decided on technology as number 4. And then Instagram, it means it's a social network. So they will have to, the best technology for them, it will be social network if I've suggested that. But if I suggest something for another objective, for example, let's say the objective is to serve customers or is to sell for that particular, and I say, let them sponsor an advert. Basically somewhere, for example, sponsor an advert on YouTube, so that when customers go to YouTube there, and then on YouTube, they can see that intermediate ad before they watch the music video, it plays there. You'll see that now I'm no longer talking about the technology that is I've included now is a social streaming site. So there must be alignment between the objective, the strategy, as well as technology, as well as people, which was the first one, whereby you analyze what things such as your personas, as well as your scenario-based design, what type of people you have or you are targeting. So instead of us answering these questions theoretically, we're going to answer them practically. And then for us to answer these questions practically, we're going to use the quizzes website for that. So it's going to be a multiple choice. On the screen here that we are sharing, I'll be able to see the leaderboard. It's about 6 multiple choice questions that you'll need to play on the quizzes website. So the next step is to open quizzes.com. So let's quickly have that here. Let's refer to it as learning activity. I think it's learning activity 4. So the first thing that you need to do now is to download, if you haven't, download activity, learning activity 4 on Brightspace. So we're going to spend about 3 minutes. It's a short case study. You read that case study to understand what is happening there. So remember, it's here. You download that learning activity and you read that case study there. It's just 1 page. Actually, it's half a page. And then the second thing, once you've downloaded that, you go to quizzes.com. So let's quickly go there. I'm going to quickly close all this website. I don't think I'm using them anymore. Okay. So next thing, you want to go to quizzes. And here you want to join the game. So you want to enter code. So we'll need to play together. It's going to be a live game. So a live game, it can only be active while we are in class now. You'll be playing on your device. So if you're using a mobile phone, it allows you to actually, you can use your Google Chrome or any internet browser that you are having. Remember, you can minimize or you can switch between applications. You don't necessarily need to stay to the Teams applications. You can minimize that. I think it should continue. You will be able to hear me as a background, and then you go to this website, quizzes.com.join. So I'm going to put it under instructions there. Go to quizzes.com, join, and enter game code. So I'm going to start the game now so that we can start with the game code. So I'll need to sign in on my side. So quickly signing in there. And like I've indicated previously, maybe you've played quizzes. It was a homework as a game or a learning activity, but in this case, it's going to be a live game. So you won't be able to play this activity after class. My instructor dashboard.
So can you please show us the website?
Okay. I'll quickly post it on the chat box now. I just want to download the code now.
Okay, no problem.
All right. So we'll be doing chapter 5, social media, which is this one. It's just 6 questions. So this is each question takes about 2 minutes, or I've put the timer as well there, which is about 2 minutes. So I think it's gonna take us about 10 minutes to play the game. So I'm gonna pick the classic mode. Let's quickly see here. Shuffle questions, answers, and so on. Okay, so we can continue. So now I think we should be able to get the code. So that's our code there. So let's quickly. Can't we copy this? Let's see if we can copy this instead. Yeah, no, I just want weights. Okay. There it is. So it says to play this quiz. Use any device to open. Okay, they've changed it. Join myquiz.com and enter game code. Okay, we've got the game code there. Okay, I think the next screen should ask for your nickname. So enter nickname, enter any nickname for that. You don't necessarily need to use your student number or anything. So I'm gonna quickly post this on the chat box, and then you'll be able to quickly click on this joinmyquiz.com link. So let's quickly post here. You should be able to receive it on your side. So that's the link. I was hoping let's start it with www so you can be able to click it quickly. Okay, I think the team doesn't allow you to click on the links, but if it allows you, that's the link that you wanna click on, and then you enter that game code. So for now, I'm gonna start the timer for us to read the case study. I'm not gonna start the game, remember, I can only start the game once you have actually joined it. So at the moment, it should tell you waiting for others to join. So I can see 2 people are already in the game, so they were able to join. So on your side, 3 people are joining. As soon as I click start the game, it will start, but I'm not gonna start it now. I want us to read the case study first. And who's Mahlangu now? Wait, that's not me. I'm gonna remove you, Mahlangu. Who are you there? Use another nickname. You're confusing. Sorry, I'm gonna remove you. Please use another nickname. Let's spend about 3 minutes reading the case study. So I will start the game exactly at 20 past 11. So at the moment, I'm gonna highlight. We need to do this. And I'll rather not disturb you while you do that. So I'll just be quiet here. Okay, let's read the case study and understand the case study first before we play the game. In the next 3 minutes, we'll start the game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna start the game on the other side. So if you're still reading the case study or the activity, you can continue reading the activity, but I would suggest that you join the game now. So I've got 9 players on the quizzes website, but I've got only 9 players. So others, please join the game as well. I'm gonna start for those who have joined. So 10 players now, I'm gonna start it. You can play the game on your phone if you're using a mobile device. If you're using a website, you can open it on another site. So here I'm only able to see the leaderboard. So you'll answer those questions in the next 10 minutes. So I'm gonna be quiet so that you can concentrate as well. So I'm gonna highlight that. We are here now. So let's say up until past, we'll be playing the game. So let's give it 10 minutes here. You've got the timer for each question, so just take into account that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna end the game. If you are still playing the game, please complete it quickly so that we can discuss feedback of the game, where you're struggling. So I'm gonna end the game now. It's for us to see the feedback, as well as to see where you are struggling. I still have active players. You probably join us late. In the leaderboard, congratulations to Dolly for picking up #1. Leo picking up a #1 spot as well there. So because we need the report as well as to do some feedback and reflection. Sorry if you're still playing the game. It should end on your smartphone as well, because I want us to look at the feedback. And you can see now here in terms of the score, what I see is that with question 1, most of you, in fact, if not all of you, didn't struggle with that question. Question 5 is the one that you struggled. This is where I see a lot of incorrect answers. So let's quickly review question 5 and see what it asks you. So now it says the Forester Post methodology framework can be applied to help Timer Bank develop a social media strategy. Based on the case study and comments, which strategy is applicable? For example, create a sponsored advert on Facebook, outreach to answer customer comments, post a lot of memes, reward customers for sharing a post. So what we see here, this question is similar to question 3. And you were able to get more students choosing the correct answer. That this question was referring to most of the comments. If you read the case study for Timer Bank, they were having problems. For example, how can I buy airtime? You can see that. How much does it cost to get a card? Those are the comments. And then Timer Bank responded to those comments. You can see it's about serving customers. And in terms of serving customers, you were able to identify that objective to serve. That is the objective of our social media strategy. I'm happy with that, and I do understand why when it came to question 4, or when it came to question 5, now I've got a drop of the correct answers. It's because the question is not actually asked correctly. So there was an error here in the question. So I do understand why I've got a lot of incorrect answers here, where else I've got the correct answers here. So this question was saying based on the case study, which was to serve, because we want to actually resolve those comments. But this question, in fact, it was not supposed to say on the case study. It was supposed to indicate that if you want to speak to consumers. So this was about speak objectives, which strategy is most suitable. For example, if you look at these different strategies, this one is for selling, create a sponsored advert on social media is for selling, outreach is for serving, this one is for speaking, this one is for sizzling, reward customers. Another something that you have to take into account is that we've got 5 objectives in digital marketing, like your sell, serve, speak, save, but we don't have save objective when we do the post methodology, because you cannot basically save money by replacing social media with something else. That's why you don't have a save objective. They also talk about it. I also want to refer a page where they indicate to you why you won't find save objective. In the textbook, you'll just have to read more as well about page 233. On page 233, you will see they say cost savings are less relevant part of the 5S since managing social media has very low cost for budget. So you cannot find that money somewhere else. So never suggest to save as an objective of a social media account. And then there's also some costs that are going to be incurred in that social media account. So you cannot use the save objective. So you always have 4 objectives. So here there was a problem with the question. I do understand why you actually got it wrong. The last question, it asked you in terms of in marketing research, this is a projective technique whereby we use personas. This was just to collect information. For example, there is lack of participation and lack of attendance that is reported a lot. So I wanted to find out from you, what do you think students are facing? So I've got your answers there. Most of you means it could be internet, they can rely on no data, lack of data. So this information is very useful. Bad networks. It helps us as well to understand that when as lecturers or we find few students participating or actually coming to online classes, we could understand the reason behind that. And that's why we tend to record this session and so on, because we don't want to assume that maybe you are not motivated to attend classes, or maybe it's something such as whereby you actually have challenges. So we want to understand those challenges. But here I've used Joshua. So even if you've answered it, this question, it was going to be more relevant for us to ask students who do not attend online classes, but you are attending online classes because you are here. And that's why I asked you to answer on behalf of Joshua. So these answers are for Joshua. It's an assumptions are the hypothesis that we think they are the reason why Joshua does not attend classes. This is very helpful for me, but it also relates to digital marketing in terms of personas, in terms of scenario-based design, how it works as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our learning session today, or our class session today. So if you are happy with the session, I think you are, I'm hoping you are, please use the smiley emoticon there. You can also write any comment. You can also say goodbye. Please have a lovely weekend. And also, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to unmute your mic and just ask that question while I'm here. I'm gonna stop the recording for now so that I can upload that to watch it later. So let's quickly